Hey everybody, and welcome to Stitching Between Pages, episode 4. Yay! I'm Robin, and you can find me on Ravelry as halfpast92, on Twitter as at medievalisting, MEDIEVALISTING, and now, happy news! You can also find me on Instagram as medievalisting. I went for consistency there. I still don't really know what I'm doing. I think I've been on Instagram for about a week now. But I love seeing everybody's knitting pictures, so I'm glad I joined. And I'm trying to be good about posting photos of my own, and so it would be really great if you would come follow me and say hi over there. So that's that. It is Sunday, May 17th, and podcasting on Sunday again. I think Sundays, I ran a bunch of errands yesterday, and then I went to a wine festival with some of my friends, which was a lot of fun. So I just didn't have time to fit in a podcast. So I think I might be podcasting on Sundays, but I'm definitely keeping up with this every other weekend thing. So whether it appears on Saturday or Sunday, you can count on that every other weekend. I feel like I don't have a ton of knitting to show this week, or this episode. The week after I last podcasted, I, on Tuesday, convinced myself that I had terrible seasonal allergies, which I don't know if, I guess DC is at the convergence of several different pollen zones. So a lot of people who may never have had seasonal allergies get seasonal allergies while they live here. And I get, occasionally itchy eyes for a couple of days, or I'm a little bit sniffly for a couple of days, but it's never debilitating seasonal allergies like some people get, which I'm grateful for. But I convinced myself on Tuesday that I just was having awful, my sinuses were clogged and I just felt gross, and I was like, oh, I must just have really bad allergies or something this year. And so I went out and I bought Claritin and took Claritin, went to bed. I woke up on Wednesday morning and it was a cold. It was a summer, full blown, it was really bad. And I didn't knit at all on Wednesday night. I don't think I did a whole lot of knitting on Thursday night either. I went to work both days. I shouldn't have gone to work on Wednesday. It was not pretty. I was not feeling well at all. But I came home from work and pretty much had dinner and went straight to bed. So there was that. And then this past week, I just haven't had a lot of time for knitting. I guess I've just been, I don't know. So I feel like I don't have a whole bunch to show, not as much as I might have in the past episodes. But I figured I would podcast anyways, and so, I do have a few things to show you. I have one new thing on the needles, and I have technically 2 finished objects, though you've seen the Pebble Beach Shawlette anyways already, but I've blocked it now, so it looks really good. I'm really pleased with how it came out. Anyways, I will start off with my tea. It's just a mug from IKEA. It cost $2 because that's, it's from IKEA. But it's just such a pretty color, and I really like that. And the tea that I am drinking, brought the package over, is Yogi Vanilla Spice Perfect Energy. It's really good. It's a little bit sweeter than I normally like my teas, but it's really good. And it's about 85 here today, and it's one of those things where, I check the weather and it says 85 degrees and feels like 91. So needless to say, I have been sitting inside in my air conditioning today. I have to go grocery shopping, and I'm really dreading that because I don't own a car. So I walk to the grocery store, and then I have to carry back whatever I buy. So this might be a really light grocery shop because it's only going to get worse. I don't like summer. I really don't. But I can sit here in the air conditioning. The one thing about summer that I do like, and I said that I went to this wine festival last night with some friends, and the weather was predicting it was like a 50% chance of rain. And so I was like, oh, it'll be fine. 50% isn't, it's a 50% chance that there will be no rain. So, could go either way. And if it does rain, it'll probably just be like a brief shower. Torrential downpour. And there was thunder and lightning. And I love summer thunderstorms. So I guess that's one thing. Like, I'm a little sad that we didn't get to sit outside. We stayed inside. All the wineries were under a big tent. So we didn't really get to sit outside, but we did get to, and nobody seemed too bothered by the fact that it was a torrential downpour. It was pretty amazing. We were all like, this is not what a 50% chance of rain looks like. 50% chance of rain, it should rain for 5 minutes and then be done. Or, summer thunderstorms, you always kind of think, oh, it'll be real bad for 10 minutes and then it'll be done. But it was probably 45 minutes or an hour of heavy rain. So, we still had fun anyways. But yeah, summer thunderstorms are one of the few redeeming qualities of summer for me. So without further ado, let's talk about some knitting. Now I'm going to show off my finished objects first. This is my finished Pebble Beach Shawlette. And as you can see, blocking, as it always does, made a huge difference. I love it. And I love the blocking it just really, I don't know, it grew so much and it just made the fabric is just so nice now. And, yeah, I'm really pleased with how this came out, and I can definitely see myself knitting another one because it was so quick, and she has several different sizes now. So, I might try knitting one of the larger ones or knitting it out of lace weight or something. I knit this in KnitPicks Hawthorne Fingering, in case you had not been watching along and didn't know that. In the Lads Edition colorway, I used a little bit more than one skein. I think the pattern calls for about 400 yards, and KnitPicks Hawthorne Fingering comes in like 380 yard skeins or something like that. I think that's right. It's 400 meters instead of 400 yards, I think. I'd have to look at the label to be sure. And I knit it on US size 6, which is the size needle that the pattern recommends. That's, I think, a 4mm needle. I don't actually have the needles sitting over here, so I can't be sure. And I started it off on my Knitter's Pride cubics, but then I switched to HiyaHiya Sharps. There we go. There was the join between the needle and the cord was on my cubics was getting loose, and so I didn't want to risk accidentally losing all of my stitches because that would be bad. But anyways, yeah, it's finished, and I love it. I'm really pleased with how it came out, and I'm looking forward to either a cool night to drape it over my shoulders or the fall and winter when I can start wearing it as a scarf, which is what I tend to do with my shawls. I'm not much for, draping them over the shoulders, which I guess is how you are supposed to wear shawls. But I don't do this very often. But it sits really well, so maybe I will. So that is one finished object that I have to share with you. And the other one, this will probably come as no surprise, is my blueberry waffle socks. I actually finished these on Friday. I was like, I need to have something else to show on the podcast, and I was almost done. So I've been watching Foyle's War, which is an English drama about this policeman during World War II. I think my parents watched it, and a friend of mine watched it, recommended it to me. I think I watched maybe an episode or something and then got busy with other things and didn't finish watching it, but I recommended it to my parents and they watched it and loved it. So now I'm finally watching it, and it's on Netflix if anybody's curious. I think Michael Kitchen is Foyle, Detective Chief Superintendent Foyle. And there's a really great, he has a driver, Samantha, who goes by Sam, and she's a really great character. And it's a really good drama. So I'm enjoying that. But anyways, I finished the foot and the toe of the second sock while I was watching that on Friday night. So these are knit in a mystery yarn. This was the second skein of yarn that I bought when I was in New York City, intending to knit socks out of it. And for both skeins, I lost the label. So I can't tell you what yarn this is. I didn't enjoy knitting with it very much, but I enjoy how it feels really nice knitted up. So I did I don't need to hold both of them up. These are knit cuff down as the pattern calls for. I used the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I used the toe decreases from the Hermione's Everyday sock pattern because I think it just makes a really nice toe. So I really enjoyed knitting this sock pattern. I would highly recommend it, especially for somebody who wants to get started knitting socks. I think if you want to knit something a little bit more complicated than just plain stockinette stitch socks, because let's be realistic, it's a tube, so if you want to use plainer yarn and do something with a little bit of interest to keep you going, this would be a really good first sock pattern. So that's both skeins of Mystery New York City yarn turned into socks, so I'm really excited about that and really pleased with how these have come out. I can definitely see myself knitting that pattern again. And I have made a little bit of progress, not as much as I wanted, on my other pair of socks that are on the go. Although hopefully now that the Blueberry Waffle socks are done, I just have one pair of socks on the go now, so hopefully I can make a bit more progress. These are my green and cream socks, and they have a heel, so now they really are green and cream, and I am so excited. The lack of progress is not an indication that I am bored or have lost interest with my green and cream sock obsession. Look at this. I love that. Look at how nice that line is between the green and the cream. I love it. So this pattern is Hedgerow. It's basically just a rib, a 4x2 rib. Oops, we have a cream end sticking out there. A 4x2 rib with just a simple seed stitch inside the 4 wide rib to give it a little bit more interest. I am knitting this out of, tangled up here, Malabrigo sock in the lettuce colorway, which I bought at one of my lovely local yarn stores. And the cream is Cascade Heritage sock, I think in the snow colorway. I think I've said this every week, and I still have not bothered to look up which color it is. It is, the Malabrigo sock has no nylon in it, but the Cascade Heritage does. So I'm hopeful that these will turn out to be sort of lasting socks. But I've finally made my peace with it. I'm a knitter. I can always knit another pair of socks, and I could probably replicate these exact socks if I really wanted to. And I get most of my joy. I'm definitely a process knitter. I enjoy the getting there at least as much as I do the end product. Just the active knitting is what makes it for me. So that's how I made my peace with the idea of knitting something and putting it on my feet and probably getting holes in it. So that's that. I am knitting these on ChiaoGoo, just their metal needles, DPNs. And they're US 1, which is a 2.25, yes it is, 2.25 millimeter. That's my standard sock size needles. I can't do zeros. I just can't bring myself to do it, but I like the fabric that ones creates with my gauge. So that's that. And then I'm trying to think what I should do next. I think next I will show you the new thing that I've cast on, and I've been knitting pretty steadily on this. I'm knitting it out of Swan's Island. I think it's organic sport weight superwash. There you go, you can see it's the sport weight. And I bought, this is the Lavender colorway. Oh, you can see how much money I paid for it. Lavender colorway, and it's just a really beautiful muted purple. I bought this yarn when I was on a trip. I went to California, and when I was there I bought this yarn, and I have finally cast it on. It's really soft. It's a really nice, and it's nice. It makes a nice change. I knit so many things with fingering weight. It's a nice change to knit something with a different weight of yarn. So there it is, all caked up. It's a cute little cake. There are, I think, let's see here. Let me not make things up. There are 50 gram skeins, 175 yards per 50 gram skein. So I have 3 of them to knit this project, which is the Whispering Pine Shawl designed by Molly from the Homespun House podcast. And I've loved this shawl pretty much since she released the design. It's a very simple textured, similar to the Hermione's Everyday Sock. It's just an occasional purl stitch that makes this texture, which I think she said reminded her of falling snow, if I remember correctly. And then there's a very simple lace border around the bottom. So I'm really enjoying this. The yarn is a pleasure to knit with. And this is one of those, I'm lately just all about these things that I can knit and they have interest, but I don't have to pay tremendously close attention to them. That's what I find most enjoyable to knit on in the evenings. And so I've been getting a fair amount done on this. And I am knitting these on, oh wait, I think these are the same needles I've used to finish off my Pebble Beach. These are HiyaHiya Sharps US 6. I think it's a 32 inch fixed circular because I still don't own interchangeable needles. And I'm using these they're just kind of plain, well, they're marbled, yellow stitch markers that were gifted to me in a swap. It was actually the Favorite Things swap that Molly hosted. My swap partner sent me, and I have some bigger ones that are green, but I use the yellow ones a lot. They're really cheerful. So that is that, making a fair amount of progress, although I haven't worked on it in a couple of days. So that is that. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to getting to the lace too. It's just a tiny little bit of lace, and so I think it'll be a really lovely and wearable shawl when I'm finished. So, and I always love knitting with yarn that I've bought in places that, places that aren't my home, because I always have the memories that are attached, and so that's always really nice. I actually don't think I've shown, I'm keeping it in this project bag, which is one that I made. It's just a simple drawstring, and the inside is the same as the gray and orange leaves. But the fabric that's on the exterior is actually fabric that I bought in New York City. It was a half yard that was I think it was the end of a bolt at Pearl Soho, their fabric section. And I just really like it. I love the gray and the orange together, and it's kind of a fun modern print, and I'm very specific about what sort of modern prints I like, and this one I just really enjoyed, and so I've turned it into a little project bag. And I've been knitting a lot on this, on the Metro, because it's really, it's currently not a very big project, and it's easy to do with all the distractions on the Metro. So that is all of I haven't made any progress on my Bonnie tank top. I am still exactly where I was when I showed it off 2 weeks ago, which I'm a little bit sad about. I need to get back into that. But I think, like I said last time I podcasted, I really need to print off the charts, and I still have not had a chance to do that. I keep meaning to email myself the PDF so that I can print it off at work, but just the page of charts that I need, but I haven't done it. So hopefully I remember to do that this week so that I can get back on that boat, because I really do want to finish it. I'm really looking forward to wearing that top. So the other things that I have on the go at the moment are crochet. And I'm going to show this to you. And I have been very good about weaving in ends, but I have not yet woven in ends from my most recent additions. So I apologize for the straggly ends. I'm weaving in the ends as I go because I know that if I didn't, I wouldn't do it. And I'd have ends all over my blanket forever. So I have made, let's see here, it doesn't even all fit in the shot anymore. A fair amount of progress on my little granny square blanket. We are now at, let's see here, 7 squares, right? Yes, by 7 squares, and so I have 3 more squares to go until it is officially 7 squares by 7 squares. So that's pretty exciting, and it's starting to get to the point that when I work on it, it really does keep my lap warm while I'm adding squares or weaving in ends. So these are all additions that were gifted to me that I showed. These are all from the swaps that I showed off. I love this one. I love this like cerulean blue, really saturated cerulean blue. And I love this one too. It's kind of similar to, let's see if I'm going to be able to find it. Similar to this one in terms of color. Browns and blues, and I love browns and blues together. That one's really fun. It's a rainbow. And here's the purple one. I think I showed this one off last time I podcasted, and it was in the skein, and I said it was one of my favorites, and it still is. This one's really pretty, sort of baby colors. Rainbow, fun rainbow. I need to get some rainbow yarn and knit some rainbow socks, I think, because every time I have crocheted rainbow yarn into this blanket from, swaps and things, I just love it. It's so fun and so cheerful. I'm pretty sure this is the Regia. Let's see here. This one is new. This one. And here is the Hawthorne from my Pebble Beach Shawlette. I have not yet crocheted, and I think this is the last square that I showed off last week. So that's pretty good. What is that? Or last time I podcasted, not last week. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 new squares. That's pretty good for 2 weeks, and working on other things in between as well. So I'm still really, really enjoying this project. And like I said, I don't know how big it's going to be, and it's certainly going to be a long-term one. So I might stop showing it off every time I podcast. But I'm making steady progress on it, and so I still have to put in the yarn from this pair of socks into my blanket. So that's that. And then the other thing is that I started crocheting. I have made so little progress. The Weekender blanket. This is not going to be a blanket. I think I'm going to crochet enough little hexagons to make like a pillow or something, like the front of a pillow, and then back it with fabric and create a pillow sham, because I don't think I can't have 3 blankets on the go, because as you can see, my Vivid blanket is still sitting there. No further progress has been made. And then I have this on the go. I can't have 3 blankets on the go at once. And I'm enjoying crocheting the little hexagons, but I'm not really a crocheter, and I'm not finding them as intuitive yet as granny squares. I think I'll get there. I think I'll be able to do it without looking at the pattern, but right now I've done these 2. This one was my first one. It's a little bit wonky, but I think it'll straighten out once I have hexagons all around it, because this one is clearly better. And then I'm in the process of working on number 3. So I've done 2 rounds. I just have the 3rd round to go. But I think this is going to be turned into something small. I'm thinking a pillow, because I can't have 3 blankets on the go. But it is proving to be enough the yarn from my minis that I have left over after squares is indeed plenty to make a little hexagon. So that's really nice, and that means that I can use up much more of the yarn that I have from minis that people have kindly swapped with me. So that's really exciting. And speaking of minis, I received from Marion, who lives in Germany. This is the last person that I swapped with, from Kristen Vines of the Yarngasm podcast. This is the last person that I swapped with, and she sent me a beautiful package of mini skeins, which I have not opened yet because it's just so pretty. She did such a good job with. I love the there's stars on the bag, and I love that. But look, they're just it's too pretty. I haven't cracked into it yet. But I'm still working on. I still have a couple minis from the ones that I showed last week to finish up as well. So that's some good additions. I'm really looking forward to the 2 yellows. I'm really excited about those. And I love this one too. It's cream, but it has little flecks of color, and they're flecks of neon color too, not just any colors. But I really enjoy things that people have knit with speckled yarn, but I've never knit with speckled yarn myself. I have one skein that I think would qualify as speckled, but I have not knit anything up with it yet. So that's all of the crochet things, and this is really my only new addition to my stash this week. So before I talk about books, I have one other knitting related thing, and it's something I'm probably going to start working on this project as soon as I finish podcasting. A coworker is expecting her second baby soon this summer, and so I have another coworker who knits as well, and we are going to knit some party bunting for this coworker's baby shower. So my colleague who knits has knit up some, and then she kindly gave me the pattern to use and gave me some yarn so that we'll have, it'll be a matching color scheme. Just some of her stash that she had that is kind of baby colors. So I'm really excited. I think I'm going to try to do some letters. We're going to do baby. And then just some plain ones as well, and then take them to my colleague who has her little stack of bunting, and she'll put them on ribbon, and so then we'll have that. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be just some nice, fun, easy knitting, and I don't know if let's see, in 2 weeks, I think I should still have them in 2 weeks. The baby shower is not until June, and I think my next podcast is the next weekend that I plan to podcast is the last weekend in May. I think that's right, because Memorial Day weekend, next weekend, and I think the weekend after that is like May 30th and 31st. I think that's right. Or May 31st and June 1st or something. I don't know. That's too far away. So anyways, there's some fun yellows, blues. I don't know if the baby is going to be a boy or a girl. I don't know if she knows, and I don't think she's told anybody if she does. So this is much more red. It looks orange. It's red. So that should be really fun. I'm looking forward to tackling that this afternoon in my grocery shopping avoidance. I love grocery shopping, you guys. It's one of my favorite things about being an adult is doing my own grocery shopping. It's one of the chores that I enjoy it. I like picking out my food and planning my menus for the week, and I enjoy cooking, so I like going to the grocery store, but I'm just dreading having to carry my groceries home. I keep thinking about investing in a little granny cart, one of those little fold-up grocery carts. And I think I might finally have to do it because the thought of carrying 2 full bags of groceries, and the grocery store is only a 15 minutes tops walk from my apartment. It's not a far distance. It's not like I'm, going to be outside walking around for an hour with my groceries. But just the thought of carrying them is not appealing at all. So I need to figure something out. I think I have fiber in my nose. Ugh. But yes, I think I'm going to use knitting the bunting as my grocery shopping avoidance technique, and I might wait to go grocery shopping until 6 or 7 p.m. when maybe it will have cooled down a little bit. One can hope. I am always optimistic. I was so optimistic about the rain yesterday and failed on that front, so I might be wrong about this too. I might just have to tough it out and get over myself. So anyways, I think this is probably going to be a slightly shorter podcast than the past 3 have been, but that's okay. Like I said, I feel like I didn't have as much knitting to show off this week because the past couple weeks I've just been under the weather and busy at the same time, which is not a fun combination. But I do have a few books to talk about this week, so I'm not going to worry about it. This is what I've been reading this week. It's called Chasing Aphrodite, The Hunt for Looted Antiquities in the World's Richest Museum. At the World's Richest Museum, excuse me. It's by Jason Felch and Ralph Framolino, who they are journalists, and they are the ones who broke this story in, I think, the Los Angeles Times. Yes. And in 2006, they were finalists for the Pulitzer Prize for investigative journalism because of this story. It's about the Getty Museum, the J. Paul Getty Museum in Los Angeles, or near Los Angeles, and their antiquities, Greek and Roman primarily, and the story of how a lot of them were purchased, and the people at the museum who purchased them were fully aware that they were looted. They were not, they were not dug up by archaeologists, and they were dug up by looters and then sold on the black market, basically. And it's a fascinating story. If you enjoy nonfiction that reads like a novel, if you liked Devil in the White City, which is a really great book about the Chicago World's Fair and murders, if you like that kind of nonfiction, I would highly recommend that you read this. It really does read like a novel, and it starts pretty much from when the Getty opened in the 1970s, 80s, or it starts the very beginning. J. Paul Getty is still alive, and then he dies, and then the museum goes from there, and it goes up through the trial of Marion True, who was their antiquities curator, the Getty's antiquities curator. And so if you enjoy basically nonfiction that reads like a novel, I would highly, I have a crossword puzzle stuck in here that I have been meaning to finish up and have not yet done so. Yeah, this is really good. And it's a really good story. It makes me a little sad as a museum person that this sort of thing happened so recently. I studied classics in college as well as history, and so I know a lot of archaeologists. My classical studies mentor was, she's an art historian, but she has an archaeology background as well. And so from that perspective, this is really sad, the subject matter. But from a, entertaining reading perspective, it's really good. And it's actually, I picked it up from the library on a whim. I knew a little bit about the story and the trial of the curator, and the Getty ended up returning a bunch of antiquities because of this. But I didn't know anything about the book. I didn't know anything about the journalists. And I feel like with nonfiction, it's always a bit of a, kind of a luck of the draw sort of thing. And sometimes it can be really, really good. And then other times I'm just really skeptical of journalists writing nonfiction. I guess that's probably because I have an academic background, and so I don't know. What I'm trying to say is, good book. So if you watch the Bookish Stitcher podcast with Jeanette, she and another podcast, which I don't watch, and the name of which is going to escape me, are doing a Terry Pratchett read-along. Terry Pratchett recently passed away. He had Alzheimer's. It was very sad. But they've been doing this read-along for, I think, a couple of months in his memory. And it ends at the end of this month, May. But Terry Pratchett books are quick reads, so I'm excited that I'm going to be able to join in, and this is the one that I picked up at the library. I wanted to reread one of my two favorites. My absolute favorite Terry Pratchett is Monsters Regiment, which is really, it's hysterical. And my second favorite is Going Postal. But the library didn't have either of those when I went yesterday. And so I got Equal Rights instead, which I have never read. So I'm really excited, and I started it on the Metro home yesterday. It's about a wizard goes by the house of a blacksmith who is the 8th son in his family, and his wife is giving birth to their 8th child. And the couple has had 7 sons, and so the wizard is like, 8th son of an 8th son, this is going to be a wizard, it's going to be great, I'm going to die and pass on my wizardly know-how to the 8th son of an 8th son. It's not a son, it's a daughter. And so she becomes the first female wizard. So she's still a child. I've read 30 pages. But Terry Pratchett, it's just, he's so funny. There is not a page that goes by that doesn't make you smile or laugh or guffaw loudly on a crowded metro and people look at you funny. Terry Pratchett books are very much akin to Bill Bryson's memoirs, that I try to avoid reading them in public because I can't help myself. I laugh so much, and people look at you funny when you are sitting laughing to yourself on public transit. So anyways, I'm very much looking forward to finishing this up, and if you have never read a Terry Pratchett novel, do yourself a favor and go read any of them. His Discworld novels are brilliant. If anybody out there is also a Neil Gaiman fan, they were very good friends, and they wrote Good Omens together. And that is another excellent hysterical novel. If you enjoy British humor at all and have not read Good Omens, do yourself a favor and go read Good Omens. I almost actually I thought about reading that for the Terry Pratchett read-along, but I decided to go for a book that was solely by Terry Pratchett. So I'm looking forward to finishing this up. I think this will probably be my bedtime reading because public transit, I just can't do it. I can't laugh to myself hysterically on the bus in the morning. People would think I'm okay with people thinking I'm weird, but that might be a little bit too much. And sometimes I go to the library and I find nothing. You know how that is. And they just don't have any books that you want to read. And every book you pick up at random off the shelf just isn't appealing. I hate those times. It makes me so sad to go to the library and come up empty, or go to the bookstore and just come up with nothing. But yesterday when I went to the library, and I hadn't been to the library in, goodness, probably about a month, because I've just been so busy on the weekends, and I have plenty of books and have not been lacking for reading material, but I was finally down to, I have, not much left of this, and a lot of those pages that are left are notes and bibliography and index and things like that, so I have less than 50 pages left. And then I have one other novel that I checked out the last time I went to the library, which I do still plan to read, but that was getting a little bit low for comfort, and I had 3 or 4 books that I needed to return, and so I had to run some other errands anyways, so I made the trip to the library yesterday, and it was just one of those so successful. In 20 minutes, I had half a dozen books that I have been wanting to read for a while or am very excited about reading, and that was really great. One of them, I was blown away that there were 2 copies of this sitting on the shelf. The last time I tried to check it out, there were no copies, and the hold list was a mile long. So, Donna Tartt, I think this won something recently, last year, an award. And I'm not going to know which one. Did it win the National Book Award? No. Was it shortlisted for the National Book Award? No, because the 2014 National Book Award was won by Redeployment by Phil Clay, which is a collection of short stories, which I read. Complicated feelings about that collection. But this was published in 2013. Did it maybe win the 2013 National Book Award? Anyways, lots of people have read this and have talked about it, and I'm very excited to read it because Donna Tartt also wrote The Secret History, which is a similarly hefty doorstop of a novel, which I raced through in 2 or 3 days. I think that might have been last summer when I was unemployed and had a lot of spare time on my hands. But The Secret History, if you have not read it, I'm going to stop holding this up because it's not relevant to The Secret History. If you have not read The Secret History, I highly encourage you to check it out. It's about these 5 classics majors at a small rural liberal arts college who get involved. They're sort of the proteges of this very eccentric Greek professor at this college. And they become very, very tight-knit because of that. And then they get involved in a murder. And it's one of those books that it's smart. And the characters are all despicable people, but they're so well drawn and so vivid. And I wished I knew all of them. I don't think I'd like them if I knew them, but they're so convincing, and the story just moves along at a rip-roaring pace the whole time. And I think I predicted how it was going to end, but the way it got there was it was worth the ride. And so if you have not read that, I would highly recommend it. And so I'm very excited to read The Goldfinch because a lot of people have said really good things about this too. It is about a boy named Theo who gets involved in the criminal underworld of art, I do believe. And so there's clearly a theme in what I'm reading. Criminals and art. So I'm really excited about reading this. Perhaps I will have more to tell you about, here we go. Chapter 1, Boy with a Skull. Hopefully I will have more to tell you about that next time I podcast. And on that note, I think that's all I have. I feel like I'm forgetting something. And I tried to be really good. I kind of scoured my whole apartment and the areas where I leave knitting. Sometimes my knitting lives on the kitchen counter if I'm taking it with me places, and my kitchen table's over there. Sometimes it lives over there. Sometimes it lives next to my bed if I'm knitting during, in my pajamas in bed at night. But I think I got everything. So I really think that's all I have for you this time. So if you are new, thank you so much for watching. Thank you also to everybody who has subscribed over the past 2 weeks. there's a lot of you, and thank you. Thank you. Also, a huge thank you to Dan and Kay of the Bakery Bears, who gave me a shout out on not just any episode, but their podcast anniversary episode, which was a really great episode. But it was just really wonderful. Like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And to any of you who are here because of that, thank you for coming to check me out. Check out my little podcast. And yeah, so thank you to everybody who's watched and subscribed and commented. And I think some of you have found me on Instagram already. So thank you. Thank you for finding me. And I hope more of you come over and find me there now that I've officially announced that I am on Instagram. Medievalisting. And thank you to everybody who watched this episode. I hope you all have a lovely, what little bit remains of the weekend, and a lovely couple of weeks ahead. Happy Memorial Day next weekend to everybody who's in the U.S. I know I'm looking forward to my long weekend, and so I hope everybody has something fun planned, and, even if it's just a 3-day weekend knitting at home, that sounds like fun to me. So, hope everybody has a good one. That's kind of the official start of summer. We can all start wearing white pants now. I don't wear white pants. Contrary to the fact that I'm wearing a white top at the moment, I don't like wearing white very much because I tend to spill things on myself. Like pasta sauce. I forget how to eat successfully without spilling on myself. Only when I'm wearing white. Only when I'm wearing white and the stain is visible and indelible. And that's how these things go. So anyways, thank you all for watching. Have a good one. Have fun with your knitting. Knit nice things. Read some good books. And I will see you all in 2 weeks. Bye.